you're as big of a jerk as I've heard you are, so have a better day.
This motorcycle cop was running radar in a 45-mile-per-hour zone in Oklahoma City. A white SUV speeds by going over 10 miles an hour over the limit. The motorcycle cop pulls out and pulls the SUV over.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, great. What's up, man?
And then he recognizes the driver. It's the elected sheriff of nearby Canadian County, Oklahoma.
You're the sheriff, aren't you?
The sheriff didn't deny that he violated the law. But believe it or not, he was angry at the motorcycle cop for even considering giving him a warning.
So my intent was just to write you a warning.
Do you need to? I'd rather not be.
Nothing documented.
I'll go into exactly what was said and what the issues are, but did you know that this is the same sheriff from Oklahoma who has been preying on law-abiding citizens, ironically, for speeding, looking to seize their lawfully possessed, hard-earned cash? The same guy that was there with President Trump at the White House just a couple of months ago, pretending to support freedom, but actually looking to make police officers entirely unaccountable for violating constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens, just like this scumbag is doing in his so-called conservative county in Oklahoma. You'll see that during this video, the sheriff claims to the motorcycle cop who pulled him over that he's in a county vehicle on county business. I used the widely available free people search sites to look this guy up to see if I could find out whether or not this was a county vehicle, and I was actually kind of shocked at how much information I could find. And as you know, we have a longtime channel sponsor who deletes that sort of information, so I searched myself and was very happy with the results. Ironically, this video happens to be sponsored by the very service who achieves that for me. As both a content creator and a lawyer, I can assure you that your private data is being collected and traded online by shady data brokers who create shadow profiles on you that include a frightening amount of personal information. Your private information is then used without your knowledge or consent by insurance companies, banks, businesses, and even the government. That's why I use a product called Incogni, which not only tracks down your private information on the interwebs, but has that data deleted. Even for me, it would take hundreds of hours of my time to do this myself. Instead, Incogni does it for me. Continuously in the background, I just check it from time to time to see how much data has been removed. As of today, Incogni has located my private information with 591 different data brokers, and now they've had that data deleted with 547 of these data brokers, with 44 others still in progress. Now there's an extra level of protection available with Incogni's custom removals feature. In the Unlimited plan and Family Unlimited plan, you can point to any website where you find your personal information publicly visible, then one of Incogni's privacy agents will get it removed. So check out Incogni using the link below or go to incogni.com/civil to get an exclusive 60% off. That's incogni.com/civil and use code CIVIL or click the link below to take your personal data off the market. Now back to the video. I'll link below the full uncut body cam from the stop in case you want to look at it. But for our purposes, let's pick back up where we left off. The motorcycle cop recognizes the sheriff. He says, "I was going to write you a warning," but the sheriff isn't happy about that.
You're Tom, or not, is Brown? Chris West. Yeah. So my intent was just to write you a warning. Can I go back and write you a warning?
Do you need to? I'd rather not be.
Nothing documented. Is it election year?
Go get your piece of paper.
Okay.
If you want to get your piece of paper, go ahead.
Set time, I'll be right with you. Got you at 58. Like I said, it was my intent was just to write you a warning from the start.
Well, here's my deal. You know, I'm a retired trooper.
Yeah.
I never did this.
Yeah.
When I stopped cops, as soon as I found that, it was like never did that. And I really just didn't understand it. I talked to Gorman before he retired because I had another job at the same time. And I think it's just ridiculous. My deal was my guys can get their paper from something else. And so I think that's a part of professional courtesy. It's not just about.
Well, you could just not speed.
This is a county vehicle, and I'm working right now. No different than you going somewhere else. So listen, Stanley, I'm not going to call the chief and complain. I'm just saying, from my perspective of another agency, not just the sheriff, I've been a trooper, I don't think that's really the best way.
Well,
You're on a professional courtesy.
well, just as professional and courtesy, as you're talking about being, you're as big of a jerk as I've heard you are. So have a better day.
Now, regarding this motorcycle cop, I know I need to point out more of the good things that police officers do, and it really pains me to have to point out something good that a motorcycle cop did who had set up a speed trap, because I really can't stand those guys. So I'll start off with criticisms. If we look at a screenshot of the radar reading, it actually says 56 miles per hour, not 58. Now, it's possible that it read 58, he saw a cop down the road, and he started to slow down, and he had slowed down to 56 before he put the radar gun away. I don't know. It's undisputed that he was speeding at least 10 miles per hour over the limit. Secondly, although I like what the officer said at the end, because it was true, it was refreshing.
You're as big of a jerk as I've heard you are. So have a better day.
It was also unprofessional, and he should not have said that. At the very least, he opened himself up to retaliation through disciplinary action, being unprofessional with somebody that you had stopped. Now, regarding the sheriff, he says that he's in a county vehicle on county business. Does that have any relevance? If this is a county vehicle, why did they blur the license plate? Also, we don't see any emergency lights on the vehicle, even though we can see inside it when the motorcycle cop walks up to the window. And again, this guy likes to dress like a cowboy, so he may or may not be in his uniform. He may or may not be on county business. It may or may not be a county vehicle. It doesn't matter. My brief research on this reveals that under Oklahoma law, the Canadian county sheriff or any of his deputies do not have the legal right to exceed the speed limit, even in a county-owned vehicle, while traveling through Oklahoma City on a non-emergency call or business. By law, they must adhere to posted speed limits at all times. Any exemptions under Oklahoma law apply only during emergency situations that include audible and visible signals, such as emergency lights. Violating speed limits in non-emergency situations is unlawful in Oklahoma. Another thing I looked at, the sheriff asked for no documentation. Would that in and of itself be illegal in Oklahoma? I don't believe so. According to my, again, brief research on this, Oklahoma law does not explicitly require that every traffic stop must result in a written citation or some sort of written documentation. As I understand it, police officers do have the discretion to just issue a verbal warning, even if they pull somebody over. However, given the context in which this occurred, where you have an elected sheriff who claims that he is engaging in the business of the people, who undisputedly had violated a law, and has asked a police officer who is on duty in uniform who had pulled him over to not do some official act that he said he was going to do. I think that could bring about potential legal and ethical issues under Oklahoma law. Oklahoma law defines official misconduct as a public officer willfully neglecting or refusing to perform a duty required by law. Moreover, not documenting a stop due to, quote, professional courtesy really does undermine the public trust. It undermines the public integrity of the criminal justice system. Nobody should be above the law, especially those who are entrusted with enforcing it. There are authoritarians on both sides of the political aisle. We just spent several years with the leftist authoritarians shutting down our businesses, forcibly masking our children, arresting elderly combat veteran barbers for merely trying to earn a living. And now we have these statist authoritarian law enforcement agencies who are parading through the White House, pretending like they give a damn about constitutional rights. In actuality, what they are doing, just like after the passage of the Patriot Act following 9/11, they are seeking to restrict our freedoms and increase the power and strength of the government. If we let them have their way, we lose freedom. My point is that this guy perfectly illustrates how conservatives are being deceived. They like to put us in neat little political boxes when in reality there can be none. You can't just write off one side of the equation as being for defunding the police. And you can't consider the other side of the equation to be supporting law enforcement. What they're doing is tricking you into thinking that you're supporting law enforcement, the individuals, but in reality, they are tricking you into supporting making government bigger and restricting our freedoms. On April 28th of this year, just a couple of months ago, this particular sheriff, Chris West, was standing in the Oval Office with President Trump as he signed this executive order that all these cops wanted. It was called Strengthening and Unleashing America's Law Enforcement to Pursue Criminals and Protect Innocent Citizens. And let's take a look at this. I mean, I'll take solving problems that don't exist for 100, Alex. For instance, section number 2, the Attorney General shall take all appropriate action to create a mechanism to provide legal resources and indemnification to law enforcement officers who unjustly incur expenses and liabilities for actions taken during the performance of their official duties to enforce the law. What does that even mean? I have done this for a living for almost 20 years, suing police officers. Just to get your foot in the door, you have to prove that they violated the Constitution first. If a government employee violates the constitutional rights of an actual citizen, why should they be protected from that? How is that unjust? What about the citizen who had his or her rights violated? I have yet to encounter a single police officer who has incurred expenses and liabilities for actions taken during the performance of their official duties. It doesn't happen. They are indemnified literally 100% of the time. They have no expenses. That is misinformation. That's disinformation. That's a myth. That is not a problem that exists in our reality. This executive order seeks to unleash high-impact local police forces. Yes, that's absolutely what we need, isn't it? High-impact local police forces protect and defend law enforcement officers wrongly accused and abused by state or local officials. Really? Is that what we really want? Okay, I can understand if we're talking about some crazy city, if we're talking about San Francisco, or even New York City. But if we're talking out here in rural America, if our duly elected state and local officials have determined that a police officer and their employee has engaged in the violation of constitutional rights, has engaged in misconduct, do we want the federal government stepping in and stopping us from prosecuting a criminal who was a police officer? From stopping us from being able to hold those police officers accountable? I thought there's always bad apples, there's always bad cops, and we have to get rid of them. Look at what the actual government wants. They don't want us to be able to do anything about the bad apples. Government is the bad apple. They are lying to you, they are tricking you, they are deceiving you into making the government more powerful, where now we can't even prosecute the bad apples. We can't sue the bad apples. We barely can sue them now. This is like the part in Animal Farm where the pigs just keep rewriting the rules and making themselves more powerful and more untouchable. And this video perfectly illustrates the true nature of this individual who is out there playing cowboy and playing Mr. Freedom, when in reality he's nothing but a statist, authoritarian representative of our government. You don't believe me? Well, take a look at this guy's history. I found this Reason article from 2021. Man says Oklahoma police seized $140,000 from him without cause. This refers to civil asset forfeiture by our government, by law enforcement. Oklahoma is one of the most conservative states in the country. This is a so-called conservative sheriff who stays elected by publicly announcing that he's this big conservative because he's a Trump supporter. Let's look at his actions rather than his words and rather than his outfit. Back in 2021, Tai Nang, a New Mexico businessman, was driving through there. He got pulled over by that sheriff's department, and they seized $141,500 in cash from him during a traffic stop. They were traveling to buy a piece of land when they were pulled over. Sheriff's deputies searched the car, found the money. When he tried to explain that it was for property purchase, the deputy responded, "I'm 300% sure that's illegal money. It's absolutely lawful to travel in the United States with any amount of cash that you want to, but cops like to seize it. That's a practice called civil forfeiture. They confiscate your property, even with no evidence that you're involved in criminal activity, even when the owner hasn't been charged with a crime." In Mr. Nang's case, there were records to back up his story. He was able to produce a bill of sale showing where he intended to purchase the property. The Institute for Justice was actually quoted in the Reason article saying Canadian County, Oklahoma is a highway interdiction hotspot, and this latest attempt to forfeit money belonging to out-of-state business owners appears to illustrate how easily Oklahoma's forfeiture laws can be abused, according to Institute for Justice Senior Attorney Dan Albin. In addition, there is a history of racial disparity in seizures and forfeitures in Canadian County, as well as several other populous counties in Oklahoma, and this just appears to be the latest example. So for instance, while it's 75% white people in that county, who are they pulling over? Something like 20-something% of the people they're pulling over and seizing cash from under the leadership of this champion for freedom were Asian people. Why? They are fishing for money. With no crimes being committed, they are seizing the money and keeping it from law-abiding citizens. Now, this is something that's going on across the country. The Institute for Justice has been fighting hard against it, including and especially in Oklahoma. And I would encourage you to donate to that cause because the fight is far from over. But this is one of the bad guys. One of the bad guys who is much, much worse than King George III. Make no mistake, that is an authoritarian, statist pig straight out of Animal Farm.
Do you need to? I'd rather not be anything.
Nothing documented. Is it election year?
You know, I'm a retired trooper.
Yeah.
I never did this.
Yeah.
When I stopped cops, as soon as I found that, it was like never good day. So I think that's an important professional courtesy.
Yeah.
It's not just about.
Well, you could just not speed.
So listen, Stanley, I'm not going to call the chief and complain. I'm just saying, from my perspective of another agency, not just the sheriff, but a trooper, I don't think that's really the best of.
Well,
you're on a professional courtesy.
He's gaslighting you that he's some champion for freedom when he's not. And fortunately, this video, while it may be over a minor traffic offense, it's really about much more. It shows you the true character, the true nature of that Trojan horse of a politician who you trust because you like Trump and he's there standing with Trump. But don't be fooled. He is the government. He's long been an employee of the government. Do you think they care about your constitutional rights? No. They care about their professional courtesy. So don't let them deceive you with politics. They can't write off my opinions and say, well, he's a defund the police guy. Yeah, I think generally we should have less police that are higher paid, higher trained, higher educated, and so on. I also support less laws, less government, less taxes, more freedom. That's not defund the police. That's freedom. My mission here with this channel is to protect and defend your constitutional rights, not to get involved in politics. That's why I'm warning you, don't let them gaslight you. This is common ground for people of multiple parties, multiple political beliefs. If you believe in freedom, you believe in constitutional rights. Don't let them separate you based on politics. If you share in this mission to protect and defend constitutional rights, then please subscribe, like, comment, and share this footage. The more people we can educate, the more powerful we the people can get. Remember, freedom is scary. Deal with it.